Hello, Internet! My name's Matt Meyer. I am your host for this week of the Comic Watchers show. Myself and my dogs in the background. I apologize already for their silliness. Mighty Mike Akins is on leave this week. Shore leave? We don't know. But he will be back. Journalist Chad Burdett will be joining us as soon as he's done with dad duty. It's all good, Chad. I love you. He's the one that made this thing happen. My guest this week is ART BALTAZAR.
That's
You
me.
know him.
Woohoo!
Woo! That's him. Woohoo! You know him from all kinds of cool stuff like like things that I'm going to completely like Action Cat and All Yeah Comics and Tiny Titans and all kinds of kick-ass stuff like Gillbert and things you love. He's going to talk to us tonight about his new upcoming project. It is called Yargs.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't even know if it's the way you pronounce it, but because it's spelled phonetically and it's all caps, that's how I'm choosing to pronounce it. Art,
That's
welcome.
pretty close. Right on. Thank you, sir. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's how you say it. Yags. The Krenobi Tales. It's the first book. I'm going to have 3 books all together. So this is the first one. I'm actually working on it right before we hooked up here. I'm working on page 56. So the first book's almost done. It's getting there. Yeah, man. It's coming out in August of next summer.
Oh, August. Okay. I was thinking it was springtime. But tell us a little bit about Yargs and the Krenobi Tales, because I read this book. 3 pages that you put out there. There it is. We had some preview pages. They're pretty funny. People say cray a lot. Go all in, man. What is up with Krenobi?
Yargs is a story that Yargs is the world. The world the land they're trying to rescue is called the land of Yargs. So Yargs is the place they are. They're on Cray World, and Yargs is a place on Cray World. But this story is the story that when I was first learning how to make comic books in 1992, this is the book that I came up with. When I was going to all the portfolio reviews after college, I graduated college in 92, so that summer I went to Comic-Con with my portfolio and my tie on and stuff, and I showed all the editors and all the companies my work, and they all told me to go back to school and learn how to draw. They said I was too cartoony and I would never make it in the comic book business. So I had one editor, Bob Harris, looked at my portfolio and he said to me, he said, "Why are you trying to draw like everyone else?" Because at that time, Image Comics was super hot. And I said, "Well, that's what comic books look like, sir." And he went, "Yeah, but you don't draw like that." And he asked me what I was carrying. If I had my sketchbook under my arm, and he said, "Can I look at that sketchbook?" I said, "Sure." And he looked through it, and it's filled with doodles and cartoon characters and funny gags, and that's how I am. I just draw in my sketchbook all the time. Like I have it here. I always have it near me, but I'll just show you like a page. And this is what what he saw too. It's just stuff like this. Just stuff, just little gags and things. So
I love that. It reminds me of the margins of my homework in high school.
Yeah, that's how
better.
Because he told me, "Why are you trying to draw like everyone else? You're a cartoonist." And he said, "You should be publishing your own comic." And he said, "Publish your own damn comic." And I'm like, "Yeah." So I just went home and started drawing these characters and create the first book was called The Cray Baby Adventures, and they were based off of art supplies. Like Cray Babies came from when I was in art class, we were drawing with Cray paws. Like they're like these chalky sticks, pastel sticks.
I remember those. They were big in the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, and you would draw and rub them. They're like chalk almost.
Yeah.
And one of my buddies in class said, "Hey, if these are the Cray paws, where are the Cray moms?" And I said, "Oh, maybe you're there with the Cray babies." And that was it. That's how it started. So I started.
That's actually wonderfully hilarious.
Yeah, and I made all the characters like I have gouache monsters who are gouache paint, and they just want to cover everything in gouache. And then I had tanks that would shoot ink, like little ink bottles were the tanks. So that's how it originally started. And when I self-published in 92, 93, 94, I think I self-published till 92 to 98 or something like that. These were the stories I made in the Cray Baby Adventures. That's what it was. And they rescued the people of Yargs because the people of Yargs are kind of like they're flowers. They're like flower people. They're helpless. They can't do stuff. They're weak, you know. So the Krays are the heroes. The Krays on their world are like the humans. Like there's no humans on the world. They're just all Kray species. So like last that's what I first started. But last year, 2 years ago, I was working on Gilbert with paper cuts, and I finished up the last book. Gilbert number 4 was the last one I finished, and Gilbert the Little Sea Monster. And paper cuts asked me um, if I would like to do another book. They said, "Hey man, we want more." And I thought, "You want a Gilbert spinoff?" And they said, "No, something brand new." And so the um, the Cray this I made into a 6 inch a 6 inch 6 page pitch, which is this book. It's 6 pages pitch, and this is actually the pitch. When I met them in New York, I gave them this, like sketches, and they loved it. And it blew my mind that they wanted to do my original Cray story from the '90s. That the book that I learned how to make comics from. And so I'm retaking that story, retweaking it, rewriting it, and making it. I'm adding my 30 years of experience into the original thing I've ever created. So I thought that was cool, and I'm having a great time with it right now. So cool.
That's an awesome origin story.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this goes back to the beginning of your career 30 years ago, and here we are. How has the story grown and changed? I mean, notwithstanding your own personal growth and
Yeah.
experience as a creator.
Yeah, it's cool because like when I first did the book, the first 3 issues were really weird. It's kind of like when you go back and look at the first thing you've done and it's weird, or musicians hate those songs and artists look like, oh, I was so bad back then. But my books were real weird. Like the first 3 books were kind of like I had no story, and I would write them like whatever come to mind. I would write them on the page as I was drawing it, you know. So I didn't really I had to learn how to do it. But by issue 4, 5, 6, I actually had a story. And so this was real cool to look at all of my story and all my multiple sketchbooks with these stories in them and write down an outline and put it all together as a pretty cool story. And now I have a timeline. I know what who the bad guy is through all of it and what the powers are through all of this. And there's like a lot of magic and stuff. So it's pretty cool to see to able to look at it and read it all again and then tweak it as I go. So the story's pretty close, but it's told in a more of a story. I got storytelling skills now because in the first part it was real hard to follow, and even when my wife and kids were trying to read my original comics, and my wife couldn't get through it, and uh, and I told them it was going to be rough, but they're gonna dig this one, man. This is really cool.
It
Yeah.
sounds like a real labor of love because
Hmm.
like I said, you've been at this for 3 decades now. You've built a wonderful career for yourself, and now you get to take this germ of an idea from the very beginning
Yeah.
and get fully realized. And it sounds to me like you've maybe not developed a Silmarillion level of backstory for this world, but really you've breathed some life into it. I mean, I
Yeah.
think is that pretty fair to say?
It's pretty cool. Like, I'm writing it as if the story's being told to you, like Cranobi is telling you his adventures he had, but he's old now. So he's telling you the stories as if you read the original books. So it's kind of cool to be able to condense the stories because they're all told in flashback. So like each story might be 4, 5, 6 pages until he changes and tells you another story. So it's pretty cool. And eventually that all ties together. But it's been
I love
so
that.
yeah, it's cool. Like instead of starting in the beginning and going slow. I'm like, nah, I can't. I gotta jump right into the storytelling. It's like it's like I look at it as like the original Star Wars movie. Like you're caught up in the battle and the guys are lining up against the wall with their guns and the door explodes and they're fighting and then in walks Darth Vader and you don't have any idea who he is, but you know he's the bad guy. You know,
Right.
like he's there to
Right.
hurt somebody. And as opposed to the way Andor is written, like it takes you all day and all of your life and 3 pots of coffee to get through the first episode. And like I don't want to write like that. I want to write like the original Star Wars, like
Mhm.
throw you in there, and I'm a big fan
Yeah,
of,
right between the eyes.
yeah, like bam, I love stories that start, that just get you. Even like the Indiana Jones movies. Like every opening of Indiana Jones
Very
movies
topical
has,
today.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And the trailer just came out today, which is,
Dial
I,
of Destiny.
yeah, I hope it's good, man. It looks
Fingers
cool.
crossed.
Yeah, but we know these days stuff is good and sometimes it's not. But yeah, man, I'm so looking forward to this. And even like a few, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, my superhero book called Powers in Action was published
Mhm.
through Action Lab, and those were superheroes that I created in high school. So those were
Nice.
actually before these guys. So all the stuff I've ever created is coming back. Like I'm making books, I'm making characters, I'm rewriting stories, and I'm bringing them all back, and it's uh it's cool. That's what I'm doing right now. Every day I just draw my own comics every day, and I sit in my art studio and just keep working until I fall asleep, and it's kind of cool. I like it.
That's I think a lot of people would agree that that's a pretty awesome way to make a living.
Yeah.
How you know going back to your origin story a little bit, you
Yeah.
had your first portfolio and it was very much in the image style, which was of course Vogue in '92.
Yeah.
How how did you decide? I mean, besides like pep talk, which totally awesome. Um,
Mhm.
how did you decide to kind of like tonally shift towards the more all ages fare that you're known for?
Oh, yeah. I've always been that way. I've always written the
Okay,
way I write, and I was trying to fit into comics back then. I was trying to change myself to write
sure.
cooler stuff, like cooler, like aggressive and superhero, more aged up. But it wasn't me. And I grew up with cartoons like McGilla Gorilla and Banana Splits and Tom and Jerry and Woody Woodpecker. I grew up with all that stuff, so I know I'm a cartoonist. It's in my blood. I've been a cartoonist since I'm a little kid. When I was in 5th grade, I started creating my own characters and doing all these things. And so it started from there. And once I started creating my characters and I started writing cartoony, so when I tried to fit into the comic book industry, they told me I was too cartoony, so I just started making this. And so I did about 10 issues of Crybaby Adventures,
Mhm.
and which is now Yogs. And then I tried Captain Camel and a Space Chicken. I did that for a few books, but then like it was yeah, and I'm bringing that back
I
too.
can't
This year
tell
I'm
you how
gonna
much I love
recolor.
that.
Yeah, because like this year I'm taking a lot of my old comics and I'm recoloring them and I'm bringing them back
Yeah,
to. I'm trying to go monthly this year, 2020, 23, 2020, 23. That's like future. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to see if I can do a monthly schedule this year, and I think I can. I'm gonna be re-releasing a lot of my old books
mhm.
and stuff like that. But at the time when I was making the Crybaby Adventures, it was a real struggle to get books distributed, and distributors kept dropping out and getting bought and leaving. And when I
That was
first
a
started,
wild time.
yeah, it
That
was
was the
nuts, man.
Wild West for distribution in comics.
Yeah, I went through all that with the ups and downs. And when I first started, my first 3 books, I had 9 distributors. So I would sell like 3,000 books a month. And between all the distributors, like Capital City would buy like 1,200, and then Heroes World would buy another 700. And so every distributor buy less, but I would sell 3,000, and I normally have about 200 or 300 to sell. And so those, man, I was doing good. I was paying my rent. I was paying my for my car, all this stuff. And then when Diamond took over everything, I couldn't sell even 100 copies. I don't know what happened. Like they're the world dominating distributor, but they couldn't sell any of my books. I was just drowned out in that thick catalog. And
Mm,
so I went from selling 1,200 books through one distributor to selling 80 copies with Diamond, and it destroyed all my hopes and dreams of
sure,
what I had.
sure.
Like so
I'm sure you're not the only one either.
yeah. And at that time, I met my pal Franco, And I was real down in the dumps. I'm like, man, I'm just gonna quit comics. I just want to make one more comic book, and then I don't know, go get a job or drive a truck or something like that. So I was real close, And so I came to his house one day with my sketchbook, like you saw, and it had a little character in there. I drew Patrick the Wolf Boy. I drew his little face and his mouth, and his face and his character, and then he's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, it's Patrick the Vampire Boy. And we're like, "What?" And my brother's name's Patrick, so I kind of like the name I thought of real quick, and then we turned him into a wolf because he looked cute or fuzzy. So and then we started creating him like based off a little doodle. And so we said to each other, like, let's just make one more comic book and then I'll go off in the sunset. And so we made the comic book, we printed it up, we went to Florida, one of the Florida shows, and started selling it. And we had like 2,000 copies, and we brought them all, and we sold a whole bunch of them. Yeah, I remember Magic Johnson was around there too, and I remember giving a book to Magic Johnson. But
Awesome.
I forget what happened though. I don't know if he read it, but I know I gave it to his people. And so anyway, like we came back from Florida, and then we get a purchase order for Diamond Distributors, and they wanted 4,000 copies of Wolf Boy.
Oh shit.
And I'm like, wait a minute, because I was gonna ride off on a sunset, and Franco was frustrated with Diamond too, so we were just gonna say we both were like, hell with Diamond, we'll just make our own books. And so at first we said, well, we don't want to fulfill this. Screw those guys. We're going to do it on our own. But then we saw how much money we were going to make, and we're like, oh wait, let's print it. Then we ran out of books. We had to print it again and send it to Diamond, and they distribute it. And then we're like, well, what are we going to do next? And meanwhile, I'm like, we should make another one. So
right.
we made like 19 issues of Patrick. And so that was it, man. And that caught the attention of I went to find Disney Adventures comics, and when I met the editor from there, he knew me from Wolf Boy, so I started working on Disney Adventures with Gorilla and Lizard, and that was cool. And then when that finished, Jan Jones from DC Comics called me up one day, and she was a fan of Wolf Boy, and so it all kind of went. By me not quitting, I made another book, and then people liked it, and it like Patrick went into Disney, and then Disney went into DC Comics, and then I've never left. I've been doing comics every day since then. So that was around 2003 when I finally never had any other job besides making comics. Was in 2003. Yeah,
that's what's up. So
yeah, it's cool.
I mean, and your story really just goes to reinforce the notion that if you really believe in what your vision is and your skill, and that somebody out there must like it, keep grinding it out. Don't quit.
You have to do it. And even when I met my wife, when I met my wife when we were dating, she saw what I was doing, and I was traveling all the time, selling comics all over the country. And then she told me, when we get married, she'll pay all the bills, and I could figure out how to do this full time. Like, whoa. And that was a huge deal. So that's what started happening. Yeah.
That
was around 2002. 2002 we got married. So 2003 is like when I was able to stay home all the time.
Happy 20th anniversary.
Oh, right on, man. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah,
totally.
Yeah, it was cool.
Chad is joining us. He's
right on, Chad.
He's here at last. He's
late to the show again.
Oh yeah, Dad, dude.
I told you just to throw that kid at his mom, but you don't listen.
Yeah,
it's all right.
So Chad, we were getting in on Art's origin story, and we talked a little bit about Yogs and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Brother, jump in now that you're here.
Well, I just wanted to say, I don't know if Art remembers, but it was, I think we met at the CGS Super Show. I think it was like 2007, 8. It was in Pennsylvania. Why can't I think of the place where it is? But cool. You drew me a Supergirl and Lisa Simpson's "Oh Yeah" Oh yeah, team up.
Oh, right on. First
So
time ever.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So again, so sorry about being late and
No worries.
um,
Cool, man.
so I mean, yeah, we were always we planned to talk at New York Comic Con, and I walked by your table a couple times, but every time I walked by, you're always busy. So
Oh my God, yeah. Like I get lines now that like people and when we first did Tiny Titans, I remember we went to breakfast before the show, and Dan DiDio was the publisher at DC.
mhm.
He took us to dinner and he told us that you guys are going to get overwhelmed today because I've been in Artist Alley for like 20 years and nobody saw me there. And so this was the first debut of Tiny Titans, this first show we had Tiny Titans. And he told me that the fans are going to line up, they're going to overwhelm you, but they're going to protect you and stand up for you because they're going to claim you as theirs. So I'm like, oh, cool. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then, but he was right, man. We went to the table. We had a line wrapped around, and it for the first few years, the whole time I was doing Tiny Titans, every Sunday is like Kids Day at a convention, and those lines wrap around, man. And C2E2 still puts me on the end of the aisle so the lines could go, so they don't block tables. And I know it's me, Scotty Young, and Katie Cook because we got the kid stuff. So the people line up and the lines go behind our tables and actually intersect. They crisscross. So it's kind of cool. And I remember one time I had a big long line. Like if a show puts me in the middle of the aisle, it messes up other people around me. They get mad. And so there was one time where I heard somebody yelling, and I'm like, oh, and some guys like, whose line is this? This is outrageous. And he got real mad. So he stood up, and it was J. Scott Campbell. And he looked at me and says, "Oh, hi, Art." I go, "Hey, what's up, man?" And he went, "All right, cool." And he sat back down. He goes, he knew it was me, so he's like, "All right, cool." And so it happens though. I have to prepare myself when I go to conventions that I got to get enough sleep. I got to get hydrated. I got to have my snacks. And I know because I have to survive drawing for kids and for people from 10 o'clock till 7 o'clock at night. And sometimes we're
Mhm.
there at 9 o'clock. So it's a job, man. It's cool. I love it. I'm glad I get to do this stuff. It's so awesome.
So this book is being put out by Mad Cave.
Yeah.
Is there any different? Because they're a smaller, more independent company. Is it different than say working for a DC or in house? So.
Yeah, it's cool. The biggest thing about it working with them is it's my stuff. Like with DC Comics, uh we did Tiny Titans and Super Pets, and I feel like that's my stuff, but it's not. And so I got to if editors want to change things, I have to change things or change I go from like changing an arm or changing a whole person. So I do a lot of different changes, and they Tiny Titans they never really did much, just like added commas and misspellings and stuff like that. But they know that we know what we're doing with the gags and writing. Even when we pitched Superman and when they let me do Superman, they just said, "Yeah, go ahead. You know what you're doing with him." I'm like, "Oh, cool." So it wasn't so much editing, but with Paper Cuts and Mad Cave. And a little bit with Boom Studios, I work with stuff. But like when I work on my own characters, they almost never tell me anything. They just like it. They I turn in the page and I'm like, "These are great." And then they tweak if I miss a comma or something like that, but it's always just like spellings and stuff. It's like editing my words rather than they never edit story content or change stuff in the story, which is awesome. And so a lot of people ask me too, why do I go with Paper Cuts and Mad Cave? And I always answer because they're into me. Like
Yeah.
I do stuff and they're like, "Oh, cool. We like what you're doing." Instead of pitching an idea and then the publisher will change your idea. And then I hate when that happens. And usually when that happens, I just walk away. I don't do it. I like, nah, I don't I have more fun doing it on my own. So I had a few moments like that where they wanted to change. So I'm like, nah, I don't want to do it. or like, can you change the lead character to this? I'm like, man, no. And like, so I'll just publish it on my own. So that happens. That happens a lot. Not too much. Not too much to me. Like I hand in my own stories because I understand the how to write to a general audience and to all ages, and I don't really write to kids. I write for an all age audience, which is it's a big difference. It's like a Pixar movie versus like Dora the Explorer. Like Dora the Explorer is for little kids, where Pixar is for little kids and their parents. So I write more like that. So it's
Mhm.
kind of cool. I dig it, man.
Well, that's kind of one of the things that I noticed. I remember from Tiny Titans is there's the aspect that appeals to the young readers, but then there's like the subtle, kind of Easter egg uh,
Hmm.
references that longtime readers can get.
Yeah, we're big fans of George Perez, Marv Wolfman Titans. We grew up with them. I read them as a kid, and a lot of that when they said you want to work on Teen Titans, that all came back. That all came to mind, especially when they wanted us to add Darkseid, and they wanted us to add Darkseid. And I remember him from what was it called? Legend. Remember that Legends book from
Yeah,
John Byrne?
Legend. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that
it
Yeah, John
was it,
Ostrander.
it
yeah.
was it was the event right after Crisis.
Yeah,
Hmm.
those two events is what got me into DC, especially that Legends book was awesome because I'm a big John Byrne fan, and anything he did when I was a kid, I'd buy it. I didn't care what company or what characters, I would just read it. And so when they asked me to put Darkseid, actually Dan DiDio asked to put Darkseid because he wanted to tie it into Final Crisis, and he sent me. He said, "Can you draw him like this?" He sent me G.J. Jones's artwork. He says, "Can you draw him like this?" I'm like, "Sure." So I drew him real silly, and I sent it back, and he said, "Perfect." So I guess they wanted that costume. I don't know, but it was kind of fun. And so, like, I don't know what I was gonna say, but that's what got me into it, man. It was so cool to be able to dip into all these characters. And I'm a big Super Friends guy. I watched all of that. I played with the Superpowers figures, the toys, and I played with Mego action figures. So being able to jump into Tiny Titans, and I remember that phone call was like, Jan asked me, who's your favorite characters in DC?" And I said, Superman and Teen Titans. And she freaked out and said, "Wow, I got an idea for Tiny Titans." I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So that was pretty cool. It felt real easy to get the job, but it's like I had 15
Yeah,
years
you make
of
it sound so easy to just
yeah.
like work for
It's like
DC. Right
just
to
those 15
Titans.
yeah, just those 15 years of struggling in Artist Alley,
Oh yeah, I
And
mean,
so
no, that
yeah,
aside.
definitely paid the dues. As Hulk Hogan would say, "You gotta pay your dues, brother." Yeah. Mhm.
And you guys, really did really well. I mean, I enjoyed the little Archie Tiny Titans
Oh, yeah.
crossovers and
Yeah, that was
like
cool too, man. I remember doing that when, they said, "We're gonna have a meeting with Archie, so come up with some stories for them to team up." And one of the first stories we thought of was they have Mrs. Grundy as their teacher, but then we thought of Solomon Grundy. Like they got to be related or something. Well, I think we had him married or something like that. But we went to this meeting with all the Archie execs. There was like four of them there sitting, and the publishers, the owners, and I could tell that the DC guys were nervous, and I was nervous. And he said, "All you got to do," Dan told me, "all you got to do is like make him laugh or something. We got to get this deal." So I stressed over this meeting, and it lasted maybe a minute and a half, and then I had everyone laughing, and then Dan came behind me, was patting me on my back. It was pretty cool. But then that was a cool team up, man. That was legendary crossover, and it was so cool. Yeah.
So, what is it about the characters like the Titans or Archie that makes them not just perennial favorites, but able to be translated into all these different iterations over the years and still connect?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's like I think it's part of like growing up with these characters and knowing these characters and living with them. They're inside you. Like if I suppose I know these characters all my life since I'm a kid, and even when we were working on Itty Bitty Hellboy, that clicked immediately. I don't know how we come up with gags so easy, but it's not really. I don't know if I'm making fun of them. It's not a parody. It's them, and like it's the actual characters. And and we found humor in like Batman and Superman. Like we didn't show their faces, and they were talking to the kids like on remind me of the Peanuts, like Charlie Brown. So so uh, I don't know what it is. It seems so easy for me to write a character and just make it cartoony and fun. And even the bad guys, I love writing bad guys, but I always like when they're crazy, like they're insane and they jump away laughing like the Joker. And like I love Killer Croc. Killer Croc showed up in the Tiny Titans too, and he just started eating everything. So it's just so much fun. So I don't know how do you appeal. Like I think it's just because I feel like I know Archie and Jughead and Benny Veronica, and I get their relationship and what they do. But if I'm asked to write something that I don't know, it's real hard to write it if I don't know what it is. Like if I'm asked to write Pokemon, like man, I have to research Pokemon now, but I don't know it. I'd have to watch it and play the game and do all these things and play with the toys and just. But I can never. I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I can get it. But right
So is
now,
that different? Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
No,
So
you.
no, when along those lines, was that difficult when you wrote the Green Team?
Yeah, that was brand new. But yeah, the thing about the Green Team is, uh, we read that first book, and I didn't like it. It was horrible, and I was gonna say no. And I thought that when they told us the Green Team, I thought it was gonna be like Green Lantern or Beast Boy or something. But when we wrote the Green Team, I said I don't like it, and then DC said, "Well, just do whatever you want with it." Like, oh, so we could change all the characters and make them new guys, and they're like, "Yeah, like okay." And then we were fun. They didn't put any restraints on us. We just went nuts. We turned one guy into a Sasquatch. It was great. I love Bigfoot stuff, so we turned one guy into Bigfoot. We turned one character into a ghost, and I can't remember a lot of it, but yeah, it was cool. It was an actual superhero team in the New 52. I think it only lasted 9 issues, but it was fun. It was fun to do. Yeah.
How? Well, I'm kind of curious. How did you wind up landing that gig? It seems a little out of your normal wheelhouse.
Yeah. I don't know. We were
Like today, I think like Mark Russell would write it.
yeah.
2011. I don't know, but the Tiny Titans guy doesn't come to mind immediately.
Yeah. It kind of evolved. Me and Franco wrote it together. We came up with the plots and stories, but Franco wrote all the scripts and the words you read is what he typed up. But and that's kind of how we worked with Billy Batson, the Shazam book too. So I think maybe because of the Billy Batson book with Mike Norton drawing it, like caught the attention of a lot of people. But at that time, the New 52 was coming out and Tiny Titans was still going during that time. And so during Tiny Titans or New 52, we kept having phone calls. They wanted to cancel Tiny Titans, but it was only on issue 37. And I kept saying, let's not cancel. Let's get to issue 50. And then we'll end it because it's weird. Like, ooh, number one of a 37 issue series. Like that doesn't sound cool, but a 50 issue series. Let's get it to 50, man. Let's go historical. No kids' books ever been that and deliberately ended. And then at that time, Dan asked, well, what do you want to do next? And then I kept going back and forth with Franco. It's like, let's just make Superman. And so at that time, too, we had contracts with DC Comics. So once one thing ended, we had to get something new. So during the New 52, they wanted to relaunch Tiny Titans number one. I told them no. And they said, well, would you like to write something in the New 52? And so we were going to write a Beast Boy origin story. And then we were going to write a Kid Flash origin story. But none of those stories, they didn't go through. They didn't get approved. And we were going to write Birds of Prey. So we were trying all these things. We started out with the Teen Titans characters, like Beast Boy. Beast Boy was real cool. It was like a horror movie where he transforms into a werewolf. It was cool. And then Kid Flash was he lived in 3 cities, so he had jobs everywhere. But he would be real fast, so he'd be on. But the thing about it, he'd always be late to his job. It was kind of fun. They were fun stories. and they were supposed to fit in the New 52, but nothing ever happened. So the one that stuck was Green Team. That's the one that actually went through, and we made it fun as we could. But I think that's how we got that, because once something ended, we had to write something else. So when Billy Batson ended, we wrote the Green Lantern animated series comics, and so when that ended, they gave us something else. So I think that's how we got into the New 52 type of stuff. But they were taking a chance on us. I wish we could have done a lot of the Kid Flash stuff and Beast Boy stuff, because that was real fun. And but it never came, which is probably for the best, because now they're all back to normal. I guess, you know. But the Green Team was fun, so I think that's how it happened. They just like, let's see what they can do with this. Let's see what they can do with this. You know.
And I found the sketch that you did for me.
Oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, Lisa Simpson. Oh cool, man. That looks good. Man, I wonder how many sketches I drew, because I don't remember. I kind of remember every sketch, but I don't always. And so I wonder how many I used to make like 600 drawings in a weekend at a con, but I slowed down a lot. My chiropractor told me, "What are you doing to yourself every month?" And I would go to the doctor, and you have to crack my shoulder and massage it. And then he gave me vitamin B pills to eat and stuff. And he says, "What are you doing to yourself?" And I'm like, "Well, I draw. I'm drawing sketches." And he said, "How many?" I said, "About 600," because I would go through packs of backing boards, and we'd bring them. We'd go. I'd bring about 2 or 3 packs, and then we'd buy more every day. And so when he said 600, he goes, "Oh my God." And he says, "Wait a minute." And he took my arms. He said, he held them up. He says, "This is your drawing arm." I go, "Yeah." He said, "Your muscles are too tight. You got to start kind of go down a lot, or you charge $10 for a drawing now." Because I was giving them away for free and charging $1. So now,
This was free.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I usually I guess kids free stuff still, you know. But now I don't volunteer sketches, but I do draw them still. So, but ever since I talked to my doctor, I only draw maybe 20 a day instead of 600 a weekend. So it has, I think it saved my career a little longer. I added 20 years to the career, you know. So it's kind of fun.
Now you live in the Chicago area, right?
I do, yeah.
I was gonna say, because that's kind of a big scene for comics, because a lot of not only do you have like graham crackers and stuff like that, but you also have a lot
Yeah.
of creators in the area. And
Yeah.
I know you mentioned Mike Norton. I know he used to live there.
Yeah.
He still lives
He's
there?
in Chicago. Yep.
Yeah. And
Yeah, we got a lot of guys. Yep.
And I know you probably know John Suntress.
Yeah. Oh yeah, good friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, good guy. But what do you think it is about Chicago that makes it kind of like for me, it seems like an epicenter of, for the comic
There's
books.
a lot of guys here, a lot of talent, and I don't know what it is. I think it's just that the variety of people who are here.
Mhm.
There's just a lot of people, a lot of experience. You got the city right outside your window. It's like Marvel Comics has uh, New York as a backdrop. Well, we have the same thing, but it's Chicago. So I don't know. It's just I've always grown up drawing, and we always had like comic book artist club and comic collecting clubs, and like we would draw comics on my picnic table when we were little kids. Kids in the neighborhood would come and draw. So I don't know what it is. I think it's just the city, the culture.
Mhm.
There's a lot of music here. There's a lot of acting. My son is a model, actor, dancer, and he does all that. And then my daughter plays music. My son plays music and draws. Everybody does stuff. So I think it's just the vibe, the area, because this is the foundation of the blues are here, and they have like Billy Corgan, Smashing Pumpkins come from here. So there's a lot of the Blues Brothers come from here. So it's like all of the. I think that's all it is. The creativity, it's in the air. You can't
Yeah.
escape it. A lot of people come here with their suitcases and backpacks and says, "I'm going to Chicago. I'm going to be," and they take their guitars. "I'm going to go play at the bar over there." So I don't know what it is, but that's like it's just cool, man. We have a lot of comic shops and stuff like that. we encourage the arts. And I have a comic shop in Skokie. It's near Chicago. We have 3 comic shops. And so we're into the scene, man. We're in the scene. We're vibing, dude. And we have one in Skokie, Illinois, near Chicago, and then Muncie, Indiana, and Harrison, New York. It's about 40 minutes from Manhattan. So I don't know, man. It's all encompassing. It's all part of our life. It's in the DNA. Yeah.
So are you originally from the Chicago area?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was born and raised on the South Side Chicago. I'm a Sox
Gotcha.
fan. Like here it is. See, White Sox, go Sox.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah, I'm been a White
Mike's
Sox fan since
missing
I'm
out
a
because
kid.
he's our baseball guy.
Who is?
Our usual other co-host, Mike.
Oh,
He's out there combing his beard or something. But
that's all right.
Yeah,
I'm a
he's
big
our
baseball fan.
big baseball nerd amongst us.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah, I like baseball and boxing. That's why I get along with John Suntress, because we talk about boxing all night. Yeah, he used to be a boxing commentator, but
Oh, really?
yeah, he was writing for the magazine or something. But yeah, man, I used to go to the Sox games when I was a little kid. We'd get on the bus and go and wait outside for the players, get autographs. So I've been a Sox fan since forever.
It's in the
That's
blood,
my
right?
team. Yeah, that's my guys. Those are my team. And when they trade a guy, like guys just went to the other team and like, oh, why'd you get rid of that guy? But I know they won once. They won the World Series once in my lifetime, so they'll probably never win again, because the Cubs and Sox average of winning a World Series is like 89 years. So I'm like, they're not going to win. I saw them once and I was already 40, whatever old I was.
Look, at least you can always claim the 90 Bulls, okay?
Yeah, we got spoiled. Michael Jordan spoiled the city.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
So that is funny. So I want to get back to a comment that you made earlier, distinguishing yourself as a cartoonist versus an artist. Just from your perspective, how do you differentiate between the two?
I think only thing I could say is, like, I think they're all the same. Cartoonists are artists, but the difference in cartoonists is cartoonists choose to do that, and they don't really choose it. That's how they draw. Like cartooning, you're born with it. It's in your blood. And like a lot of guys try to draw cartoon, like realistic guys try to draw cartoon and it never looks right. Because I remember when John Byrne would draw cartoony, it would look weird. Like
or
he'd
Neil
put muscles
Adams.
on him.
That's exactly
Neil
who
Adams.
I was thinking of.
Yeah, because I remember John Byrne drawing babies, and they look like little guys. They look like
little weird goblins, man.
Yeah. And I remember full heads of hair. And I remember something Jim Lee told me. I said, hey, I saw your cereal boxes, because he was drawing the Boo Berry and Captain Crunch.
Oh, yeah, I remember those.
Yeah. And he told me that, wow, cartooning's a lot harder than it looks. I'm like, yeah, man. And to draw like you was real hard for me. Like, so I get it. It's like, that's your style. That's what's in you. Cartoonists are born this way. And every cartoonist I know cannot draw like the mainstream comic art. And when they do, it looks very cartoony, And like the one who's adapting really well is like Gendy Tartakovsky, the guy who made
Shogun.
Jack.
Yeah, and he draws that Primal show where that's real cartoony, but it's realistic enough to not be so cartoony. And even the Batman animated series, that's super cartoony too, but it's accepted as like serious mainstream. So that, I think, opened the door. The Batman animated series opened the door at the time I was coming up too.
Yeah, I agree. I can see that.
Yeah, and so before that, I was trying to come up before that was on TV, like a year or two before, or maybe at around the same time. I think Batman animated was 92 also, but that's when nobody was watching it until it showed up, and everybody gravitated toward that style. And then DC released a Batman comic that was in that style, and then they did the Justice League Origins in that style. Remember, where Aquaman had the long beard and stuff, but it was real cartoony. And then they started making Powerpuff Girl comics and Dexter's Lab, and I remember those. I remember trying out for those and never getting them. And but being a cartoonist is like, I think that's something that you have to do. And it's kind of like, I always and also there's guys like I envy the guys who could draw in licensed style. So I have a lot of friends who like I have friends who work on like Dora the Explorer or SpongeBob or that other show, The Family Guy and stuff like that, where they can adapt their style to look like that. And I tried to audition for those jobs and I never get it because every time I draw like those characters, it looks like I drew it. You could tell that something's off. I can't adapt to the licensing style, which is very strange. And I can't figure that out. And even I worked on coloring books in the late 90s with Bugs Bunny and Animaniacs. And every time I draw Bugs Bunny, it will come back with corrections because I can't draw his face. You know, he looks like him, but you're going to look at it. So he doesn't look, something's off with this drawing. So
You're just slightly off model.
yeah, like I can't do that. And I try every time I try, I got, man, you wouldn't believe how many companies and characters rejected me. Like I got rejection notice or just I didn't get the job or I got the job on Friday and then Monday they replaced me. And so I had the job like with Rugrats at one point, with Arthur, that aardvark, and with Family Guy, Simpsons, all this stuff, and I would always get replaced, and SpongeBob too. And I got the job, and then by the end of the day, they said no. Like it went through the system, and they're like, nah, he can't draw. So it's kind of
It was for the best.
yeah. So I like a lot of the guys who draw the licensed stuff, they have a successful careers, but I don't know if that's for me either because I like to draw my own characters and I'd rather have my own characters go out there and when my own characters, you know, they run their course and then I make a new guy and then he runs a course and I make a new guy and that is so I'm really into that. So I think I got 340 characters right now that I'm making books called Who's Who in the All Ya Comics universe, and it's based off of those. It's based off of those old Who's Who DC ones and that Marvel Universe books where they would have a character and their bio and their origin and stuff. So I'm doing that. I have the first 4 books I got out, but number 5 and 6 they're all coming soon. But I'm gonna make it. It's a 10-issue series, and so there's 40 characters in each book. So what's 40 times 10? That's how many? That's 400, right? Man,
Yes.
I think. So I have 400 characters and I keep adding them. There might be issue 11 or 12, but I keep adding characters. Even with Yogs, I'm writing Yogs right now and I keep adding stuff. So it's just cool, man. Like the handcuffs are off, the the gates open, the dog ran out and bam, doing it.
I may have missed it, but is Yogs a limited series or an ongoing?
It's 3 books and they're 80 pages each. So it's 3 graphic novels.
Okay.
OGGNs, original graphic novel. Yeah. Oh, that's what they call them now. But they're 3 80-pagers. And the first one comes out next August 2023. Yeah.
And about how long does it take you to, complete one of them?
If I do it every day, I could do it pretty quickly, but I work on about 5 books at a time. Like I have Yogs I'm working on. I'm on page 56. It's 80 pages, so I'm almost there. I only got to draw like 15 more pages, but I'm inking and coloring these right now. And then I'm working on Meteor Mite, and I have Patrick Wolfboy. I'm recoloring Patrick's. They're coming out, so I'm working on a whole bunch of stuff right now. But if I just concentrate on one, I could probably get 80 pages done probably in 3 or 4 months, maybe. I'm thinking. But I don't really keep track. I just keep going. Like
what does your chiropractor say about that?
Yeah, he's okay because I
keeps him in business.
Yeah, I draw up now. I draw almost like my board is at a nice angle where I pivot my elbow. I don't lean on. I don't hunch over. So my chair is real low. So my desk is all the way up to my chest, and so my chair is real low, and it goes back real far. So my knees are actually above my butt right now, like sitting. So I find it doesn't hurt my back or shoulders or chest this way. But when I go to a show, if I go to a Comic-Con and draw flat on a table, by the end of the show, I'm sore because of the way you got to bend down and the neck stress and the head. Like, man, And like when I come back from a convention, especially like San Diego or New York or something, I gotta lay in my bed for like 2 days. I'm just laying there flat. Or I'll get up and wander around the house like a zombie, and I'll eat some waffles or something, then go back to bed. So, but
Well,
I could draw
I
for
hate to
hours.
break it to you, but
Yeah.
part of that's just being over 40.
Yeah.
You know,
just
I
being
just
old.
assumed that all of those over 40 tropes were just bullshit until
Yeah.
I myself got over 40. It's like, God,
Yeah, it hurts.
I'm exhausted from having slept.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you just gotta don't do new stuff. Just do the same stuff, and you won't be hurt. Like you won't. But like if I go unpack something or unload a truck and I come home, I'm sore like 2 days. But right now I'm 53 years old, so I'm learning I'm learning how to chill a lot more. And a few years ago, about 2 years ago, I gave myself my 8 year deadline. Not so much a deadline, but I wrote a schedule for 8 years of what I want to do with the next 8 years. Well, I got 8 years left, and what I want to do for 10 years. But I got eight. I guess it's till when I'm 60. I want to have all of these books, and hopefully by the time I'm 60, I'll have a whole bunch of books done, my own creator own stuff. And when I'm 60, I just want to drive around the country and maybe a Winnebago or a big van or something and just saw all the books that I printed. So, and my wife approved of that. She goes, that's a good idea. And
Omnibuses.
yeah. And then when I sell out, I'll just keep printing them. I'll still be drawing and painting and stuff, but uh, yeah, man, you gotta like, I don't know. I want to live to be 200 years old, but I don't know if I'll be able to draw for 200 years. So it's kind of like even my wrestling friend said, he said, once the word retirement enters your mind, then you know you only have a few years left. And I'm like, no, I'm never going to retire. But how long is it going to take me to do everything on my schedule? And like, I could do this. I put a 10-year thing, but I think I could do it in 5. I think I could finish a lot of these things in like 3 or 4 years. Yeah. So it's cool. I don't know. I know it's a sad portion of the show, you know.
It's not sad. I think
Yeah,
I think it's inspiring that, here
Mhm.
you are 53 and you've been grinding away for 30 years and you've got plans
Yeah.
for the next 10. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
Who can't hear that and be
And
like,
then
"Man,
whatever happens
I've
after
wasted
10,
my
then
life."
yeah, after the after the next 10 years, I'll probably make a new schedule. All right, here's what I'm doing now. But it won't be 10, it'll probably be 5, 5, and 5, and 5. It's
Yeah.
always that.
You gotta adjust to the realities
Mhm.
of what you're capable of after a certain point too.
Yeah, it's
Um,
kinda like that thing when people say, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" Well, you gotta think about when they asked you that 5 years ago, are you where you thought you would be? Where do you see yourself? Where did you see yourself 5 years ago should be it. And like, are you the same? Are you doing the same thing? So my answer is, yeah, kinda. I'm still doing the same thing. I'm still sitting in my house in my art studio drawing, you know? So I don't know. I just keep making books.
I
I
mean, is
love it.
that we're gonna have to wait that long for the next Tiny Titans? Because we had to wait for this
Oh,
past summer for a while. Because
yeah.
didn't you have one in the summer special or something like that?
Yeah,
The school special?
yeah, the Tiny Titan, they met the Suicide Squad. So that
that's
was
right.
cool. Yeah. We yeah, that was a unexpected thing. But I don't have any more lined up right now. But
Hmm.
I finished with Super Pets last October, a year ago, and they're
Hmm.
making new books, but they're making them with different people. But I don't know what happened there. But with DC, me and Franco worked on something that's coming out in 2023, but it hasn't been announced or shown or even teased. I think it's supposed to be 2024. So I don't even know. That's the latest I've heard. So hopefully it's something
Wow.
cool. Yeah. So that's why like recently all this stuff happens since 2003. I've been working with DC Comics or Disney in 2003 and then DC Comics in 2007, and I went all the way like just up until last October with Super Pets. Super Pets, I worked on it for over 10 years, from 2010 to like 2021 or so, and then all of a sudden, and I work with Dark Horse and Archie, all this stuff. But now recently, I'm not getting emails for jobs. And if I do get a job, it's for one book, and then I do it, and then it's not coming out till 2024. So it's like, if I just real, if I just respond to the jobs and work on the books, because now there's no more monthly books. I'm working on graphic novels that are a solid book coming out all at once. But what I was realizing was I drew and Jot #1, which is a 200-page graphic novel, came out with Boom Studios, and the article in the newspaper was he's back. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm back? Like I never left. But the perception of the
Mhm.
audience is that, what are you doing? I can't find your books. And then I say, oh, it's coming out next year. And they're like, now I got to wait a year before I get my book. So I started printing my own, because when I go to a convention, I show up with the same books I had last year, and people come to my table and say, oh, I have all these already. I'm like, ah, and it's real hard to sell a book that's been out a year, because even people who wait to meet me at a convention, they'll pick up the new one. But if they're waiting a year for the book, they already ordered it. And so when they come to my table, they pull their book out of their bag and have me sign it, which is awesome. But I don't sell anything on my table, like my books. So I started making prints. I make these little card prints. I make these little art prints. I got these things, which I got sets. So I started making stuff, like stuff that people can buy. And I started printing books. I got this book, the Bazaar Baltazar Bazaar. And I've been making books so this is an art book. This is cool because it's just sketches and stuff on the inside. So I've been making books that you can only get from me, that I put them on my website, or you could buy them at my appearances and shows and stuff. So I started making Lunar Lizard. I'm republishing him. I'm bringing back a lot of Wolf Boy, but they're in color. I started making Meteorite. I printed up Abraham Linkage. He's a hot link who slaps monsters. And then I made Webster the Spider Monkey. So I'm printing all these books, and I'm making books just so I could sell at conventions. And some of them are, 1,000 print run. Some of them are only 200 print run. Whatever I could afford, every month I'm trying to do this. And it's kind of weird that I started out like this, printing books by myself, and then I started working for everybody, and now it's coming back to self-publishing again. I'm doing it all the same way I did it in the early 90s. So it's kind of cool, man. I really dig it. And I love making. Here's another one. Here's Meteorite. So I got this guy, and he's only available on my site. So I've been making books, and I put them on my website, and people dig them. And so I don't know. I forgot what I was going for, but yeah, that's like, if jobs are far and few between, or I'm busy all the time. I have a few jobs now. I can't tell you what they are though. But I got some cool stuff happening, but when the books take 2 years to come out, and people are like, where did he go? He missed, and that's what I hate. That's why I hate when I don't have something new. I show up to a city, and they have all my books already. But now I'm making books that are exclusive at my table, or you get them online, but you can't get them at any other comic shop. Only our 3 stores will carry them though. So I have books that are already at 3 shops. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
How has it been getting back onto the convention scene after the forced break?
After these trying times, it was cool. Like I had to get used to it again, because the first coming back, I was done at 1 o'clock. I'm like, man, I'm tired. I gotta lay down. I gotta get out of here. And it was just you got to retrain your mind and your body, and you just got to eat. And so it was weird doing that. But then the first year when we came back, I think not everyone was ready. So the shows were about half capacity, But these last few, people are ready, and they're coming back, and they're buying comics again. So that last time I was in New York, it was really good. And I go to every September we go to Cincinnati, and this last Cincinnati was just as good for me as C2E2 was. And normally Cincinnati is the fun show where maybe I'll sell some books, but this time, man, we were making business, so that was real cool. We all had success at our table. People are ready to buy comics, and they don't haggle or they don't bat an eye or they don't give you a face. Sometimes you say, "Oh, this is this," and they're like, "Ah, maybe not. Maybe it's not for me." But I don't experience that as much. Like people are out there to spend money and buy comics and have fun. So that's how the last year has been. And right now, I don't have a show until C2E2, which is the end of March. I think the end of March. So I'm home right now, making comics and hunkering. I'm hunkering down. I try to hunker up, but I don't know how that works. I'm hunkering down, and I'm just making stuff, and I'm letting the vampire hours take control of me, which is like when you stay up all night, and that Salma Hayek vampire comes from the ceiling and tempts you into staying up all night with her. Like, come on, stay up. You don't need sleep. So when I'm going to bed at like 7
Yeah, but
a.m. is
it's
when,
the Selma Hayek vampire. How do you
yeah,
say
that's
no to
why I
that?
allow it. I was true away to Brad Pitt vampire. No, go away. And then it's like, I can't get him. Send in Selma. So she comes down and keeps me up all night. Then I'm going to bed at 7 a.m. That's how I know I'm in the zone. And that's when I get the most work done. And even my wife told me, "So Selma visited you again?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then she says, "But you're getting a lot of work done. It seems like you're doing a lot of things." I'm like, "Yeah." And so when I embrace the vampire, it's pretty cool. It's like I just zip through all of these things and make books. And man, I don't know, like I do like my Meteorite book. I thought it would be a 2-issue thing, part 1, part 2, and finish it off. I just wrote part 3, and I'm working on part 4. And now my friend, I'm collaborating with him for a part 5. So I think that one's going to be a one-shot number 1. So it's kind of like making my own books is kind of like it opens a door. And oh, I know what started all this too. Remember Comixology? That's a thing. And last year, or the year before, it was real easy to do. Like you would draw a comic book, finish it up, color it, and I would upload it, and then a month go by and it show up, and I'm able to tweet it or send the links out there. And I was selling a bunch of those digital copies, digital downloads, and I was selling about between 15 copies and 30 copies a month on my whole platform. And I had 80 different issues. I think there was 84 comics. We had 27 titles and like 84 issues. So people were buying stuff all the time. All my books were 99 cents. They would buy stuff from the 90s, stuff from my whole career was on Comixology. And then it switched to Kindle, and everyone thought this is going to be a great thing, but nobody could find them. I can't find my books anymore. I can't organize them the way I was. And so it really turned me off. And that was the first thing that, like, Comixology was the outlet that let me put out any book I wanted to put out. And it was free. It's free for me. It's like I got a t-shirt site too through Threadless that you could buy a shirt and the shirt gets made and sent to your house. And I get like $2 a shirt or whatever. So if I sell like 100 shirts, that's pretty good. I made $20. But like, so Threadless was the same way. And Threadless is consistent. But Comixology, I went from selling 30 comics a month to 0. Once Kindle showed up, I now sell 0 digital books. And I keep getting the statements every month. Hey, you sold another 0 comics. Like, man, I can't. How did I do this? Like, my 84 books are on there somewhere, but I don't have a publishing page anymore. I don't have this. So when that happened, I said, how are people going to read these 84 books? So I decided I'm just going to print them all. I'm going to print all of these books, and I'm going to print low print runs. And I found there's a bunch of low print run guys that print books, and I only print maybe 100 or 200 copies of each one just to sell on my site and bring the shows. And I could afford it. Like, it's $300 or $400 a month or whatever I spend on a book versus printing a big large print run. But that's what I'm having a good time with right now. And before I did this, there's a lot of thinking in comics. Like, all right, if I can't get a job with Marvel or DC, I'm not going to I refuse to go get a job like working at Target or driving a truck or something, but I'm prepared. I might have to work at Target one day, but I'm going to try to
they're
avoid
better
it.
than Walmart.
Yeah, maybe. And I like red. I look good in red, So if I have to work there, I know I can. But if I can't make it in comics, there's got to be a way, instead of waiting for someone to hire you. Uh, there's got to be a way. You got to do it yourself. I've always been a big fan of doing it yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
and you could control all of it. You could control
Sure.
what you spent. You could control the price. You could control all of these things. And I'm watching Revive right now too. There's a lot of fundraising like Kickstarter and
Yeah,
Indiegogo.
I was about to say
Yeah,
Kickstarter's really revolutionized all that.
yeah. And we had a Kickstarter in 2012, which was fun, but it was overwhelming. It took over my life, and I did not enjoy the part when people get mad and they yell at you and they tell you I'm never going to buy anything you ever make again, stuff like that. And so I'm still occasionally getting a message from a Kickstarter guy who still didn't get their stuff, but I take care of it. I sent him a whole bunch of stuff. I sent him stuff he didn't even order. Throw Dark Knight Returns in a package. Here, this is good too. Throw Watchmen in there. But I throw a whole bunch of stuff in it whenever people write to me. Hey, where's my stuff? And I send them stuff. So I still kind of dealing with that now and then. But so when I was doing all these new books after Comixology went away, I thought about doing crowdfunding, but right away, because that seems to be the solution. And then all of a sudden, I had flashbacks like, oh man, I hate bringing boxes of envelopes to the post office, and they look at me like, oh, he's back. So it wasn't, yeah, it wasn't fun. And then every week I'm spending like $600 on postage every time I go, and man, this is awful. So now I just decided I'm gonna just print these little print runs, but I'm having a great time, and I feel that this is the best time for me as a creator, making my own books and just doing all of these things. And even now I do a live show like this. I do my own show called Famous Cartoonist Says Things. It's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, it's on Twitter. I have like 7 different outlets you could put it on, and I do StreamYard too. And then but it's so much fun, man. And people listen. You realize that and Dan the Deal told me that you're going to realize that people want you, and if you go somewhere else, there, as long as you let them know where your book is, they'll find it. And he's doing
Except on
stuff with
Kindle.
instead on Kindle. Yeah, it's hard to find it on Kindle. You need to know the exact
Which,
title.
I
If you
mean,
spell it wrong.
I have to
Yeah.
say, I think part of the problem might be I don't know anybody that owns a Kindle.
Right. Yeah, I don't either.
That-
I only see them on airplanes, and I might see one or
Or-
two.
Isn't there an
yeah.
app?
Or at my
Yeah.
mom's house, who worked for Barnes and Noble for 25 years, so
Yeah.
she just got stacks and stacks of Kindles everywhere.
Yeah,
that
there
were
used to be a
constantly rented.
Comixology app. I don't know if it's still an app. I don't know if it's still there, but that's where everyone
Chat.
would read it. You know.
Yeah.
But I don't know
I
if
think
that.
so.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But I'm like, if I get 5 cents one day from Kindle, that'd be a
Well,
miracle.
it
That'd be a
seems
revelation.
it seems to be when Amazon took over Comixology that things kind of went.
Yeah,
Uh,
it changed. It's difficult. I don't know how to. I uploaded 3 books on there, but I never sold any, and I don't know where they are. They're on there somewhere. I get if you do a search for my name on Amazon, it'll show you all my books, but it shows the big publishers. It doesn't show what I personally uploaded. It shows Tiny Titans, and which I'm grateful for. So I'm okay with that. I have an author page, which is awesome, but I don't think Kindle is for the individual, guy creator. I don't know, maybe, but I can't figure it out. But I know I can figure out printing and getting books shipped to my house and opening the package on a live stream and showing, hey, I got this book. And when I usually have a new book, I sell a whole bunch right away, and I'm real happy with that. And so my goal for this 2023 is to have a new book every month. So I
That's
think I can do it.
exciting, man.
Yeah, I just got a book.
So
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I mean,
Yeah.
2023 is knocking on the door now.
yeah, hmm
What can we expect? What that you can tell us about?
yeah. You're gonna get Patrick the Wolf Boys coming back, first 2 issues. You're gonna
Oh,
get
yeah?
Meteor Mite number 2, and I'm reprinting the Who's Who in the All Yeah Comics universe number 1 and 2, just because I got a wider audience coming up. I'm gonna announce something later. I'm teaming up with a cool famous guy that we're gonna be able to print 3,000 of these books, and
Oh,
they're going to
dang.
go out there to the masses. And I'm doing a lot of charity stuff. So the last year or so, I've been planning and moving pieces around, and now it's happening. And it's cool, man. And that's what I'm looking forward to. I think my guy's gonna make an announcement this week,
Cool.
maybe today or tomorrow. But he said it'd be in his next video. But I don't want to do it until he does. I want him to do it first, so then I could talk. Because if I announce stuff before and mention his name,
We got our eye on you, Zadarsky.
yeah, no, it might be him. I don't know, but it's kind of it's kind of cool. Maybe like.
Well,
Yeah,
go
it's gonna
ahead.
be good. No, when I say famous guy, maybe it's like YouTube fame. Yeah, not YouTube. I'd say YouTube fame, but it's still good. Like he's legit. Yeah.
That's what's up, man. Well, I'm so excited for you, dude. Like, I just love, one of the perks of this gig, such as it is that we get to just hang out with cool people and hear their stories and talk to people that have been on the inside. And just every now and again, though, you do get to talk with someone like yourself who's really just made a niche for themselves and is a unique voice. And man, I just really want to thank you and appreciate you for bringing that sense of individuality to the medium like you do.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no two just like you. So I truly appreciate it. We are actually well over our hour. That hasn't happened in a while, which is always a good sign because it means we vibed really well with our guests.
Yeah, that's cool.
And Chad made sure that I didn't run at the mouth too much. And
yeah, I did all the talking. I let you guys say anything.
Listen, the best interviews, I'm going to tell you right now, dude, the best interviews are the ones where the guest does like 80% of the talking for me. Because I just have to like do this. Oh, and I'm mostly there. But yeah, then the other end of that spectrum is when we have to drag answers out of people, which Chad, you remember that interview.
Oh yeah.
That was a thing. But no, I really truly appreciate you for what you do and for coming and hanging out with us.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, hats off, dude, and good luck with everything, not just in 2023, but in the next 8 years and beyond.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens after that. Yeah,
and I just want to say that it's I was just gonna say it's kind of I enjoy doing interviews in this format rather than the cons because the cons you're so rushed you have to get either you have to get to a table back to your table or you have to go to a panel and it's always hit the high points and here you just get to sit here and shoot the crap.
Yeah, exactly. We do have one comment from D. Brad Gibson.
D. Brad, all right.
Say hi to Art for me. So
right on,
D. Brad. Your wish is our command. That is it for our show this week. We've been hanging out with Art Baltazar. The new book is Yargs.
Yargs.
That's right, buddy. The Krenobi Tales, which comes out August
there it is.
2020. One of many projects you can watch from Art next year.
Yeah, man, I got a ton
until
of
next time. We can't wait. We cannot wait. Until
definitely.
Next time, we're the Comic Watchers, and this is our show. Thank you so much for listening. Listen, the world might be a crappy place sometimes, but it doesn't have to be. Get out there, support your local comic shop, support local art, do something kind for one another, and above all else, just don't be a dick. Thank you so much. I'm Matt.
Nice.
This is Chad. Our guest this week has been Art Baltazar. Thank you so much.
Right on, guys. You guys are awesome.